Bellingham especially is generally a very progressive city. It's open to finding new ways of dealing with issues, looking at problems, and and being very open to seeing how others have maybe worked to solve that problem and trying to bring those best practices into place. And so from that perspective, I think if anything, you might see an ability for this community to adapt to these changes quicker than a lot of other communities, and find ways or create programs to be able to deliver those services as we go forward. Um, uh, Clearly, through a group like WAHA, we've seen that this community, especially on healthcare, wants to be a leader, wants to sort of find some ways to deal with some of these things, and then is very open to sharing those out with other communities as well. And I think you'll probably see that continue. I think the other thing, though, is that a lot of this is also going to come from an economic perspective, and Bellingham over the last 20 years has generally been, although our cost of living is high and our average wage is fairly low, we generally have a lower unemployment rate here than the rest of the state and the rest of the U.S. does. We generally have a much higher educational attainment than the rest of the state and the rest of the U.S. does. And so from those perspectives, from the economic standpoint, I think you'll find that people will be able, from an affordability perspective, on a broad basis, to be able to deal with whatever's coming forward easier than you would maybe in other communities. In other words, we still have a sizable number of people who don't have health insurance here, a sizable number of people who are going to need those programs. On a percentage basis, I think it's going to be less. And so you would be able to maybe look at ways to deal with those who can't afford or can't get insurance for whatever means in a community like this. It would be a little more manageable. You could put programs together and then maybe then go out to the rest of the country and say, here's a way that you might be able to do this because you've done it with a group that's a little easier to deal with. So.